Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Crypt Paints yet again. It seems like it should already be like a week has gone by, but it was yesterday, which is awesome. And I just realized my light is, oh, it's not. Okay. So we are going to be doing some super fun stuff, and it's going to be a little bit different tonight, but it's going to be fun, right, Ty?
Sure.
So, I'm like lost, Ty, already. Because
I've been lost most of the time.
I know, but I started looking at my mini and I started thinking about the stuff that I was going to do.
And now you forgot.
Now I've forgotten everything else that I was supposed to say because I'm good at that. So I need help.
What you need help with saying? What?
Well, like just in general, intro and stuff like what are we doing tonight?
Oh, well, we're gonna world build in a little while.
Yes.
For now, we're just gonna paint and chat, I guess. But yeah, and at sometime in the near future, we will be also world building. Hello, Miss Leo.
Hi, Miss Leo. I'm glad you love me anyway. Typically I'm pretty good about. Is that your feet?
No,
That's not your feet. There's something under my feet and I can't tell what it is, but it's okay. I'm typically pretty. Oh, I know what that is. That's the cart for the computer. I'm gonna stop putting my feet on it. I'm pretty good about paying attention and remembering what I'm supposed to say and everything else. But right before we came on, we ate dinner and now I'm kind of like, I'm full and I'm happy and I could take a nap. And then I looked at my mini and started thinking about the things that I need to do. And I'm super happy and super excited about him. And he's doing really well. And like, I actually got a lot of it done yesterday. And now it's really all down to fun little detail work stuff. And I'm excited to start that up. So.
Oh, I know one thing. I know we mentioned it last night, but also this mini comes from Dragon Trapper's Lodge.
Yes. So please, if you have not yet checked them out, my manufactory, they're on they're on Patreon as well. They have amazing models and they're super fun. And if you can't tell, it's awesome. But hi, Creep Show. So basically, I'm going to work on focus, Ty, while
Yes.
I'm jabbering. Let's see. I wasn't sure if I had bumped the camera, and it looks like I had bumped it just the tiniest bit. So basically, that's kind of like going to be my focus areas right there. So tonight we are going to be doing a little bit of world building. Basically, you're going to be joining the conversation that happens around our house 24/7.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little crowd forging, not funding,
Yes.
crowd forging.
Yes.
So we may or may not use your ideas if you have any. But that's what we hope, is that we can get some of the ideas from you guys that will help make this world more rich.
Sawdust says he lacks focus as well. But we thought we'd throw in a little bit of world building while I'm working on finishing this little dude up. I found out last night he also makes, if I grab the right brush, I think it was this brush, he makes a pretty good brush holder. So, there's that. But we have a new mic, so hopefully you guys can hear Ty a lot better. Let us know if not.
Yeah, let us know if it's too loud,
Yes.
because I sometimes get loud. And unlike Dawn, the mic is right in my face. I've tried to turn it down so that we're kind of close to each other, but who knows?
My mic's way over there. Hi, Mike. So, hopefully Ty sounds really nice and crisp and clear. And then, I'm really excited. I'm excited. Sawdust, whose world, lava, dinos, or something that already has a base.
We do have a base started. So, you know what? I'm gonna make my excuse too now. We have not had Gamers in the Unknown for a while, and that's because I've been really busy working on some exterior third-party projects for people, and so I haven't got really to do much creative. But then in the last couple of weeks while that's been going on, Dawn and I, every once in a while, we toss some ideas about this this world we had an idea for. So it does have a basis. When we start here in a little while, I'll actually describe what the world is like, but it's not a dinosaur world.
No. I just happen to be finishing this model. It has really nothing to do with this model. I'm just working on finishing what I started, basically. So, and I am going to actually go ahead and start that.
Oh, so my excuse or apology there was just that not like I'm using my time for other stuff.
Yeah.
This is something we've been doing in the nooks and crannies and cracks of extra time that we have.
But no, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where basically we just, it's dinner talk, it's what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll come back to the.
I don't know if you already said that or not, but Creep Show asked it if lack of focus is a family trait.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, pretty much. I mean, obviously we're not blood related, but
it rubs off.
We share that. Yeah, my lack of focus rubbed off on Dawn, for sure.
Speaking of which, we jumped right away from where I was going. I went over to Green Stuff World today. And yes, that's the name, Green Stuff World. And Ty's going to put up a link. And I ordered a few new little toys. One of which is the Liquid Frost, which I've only seen used, but it looks pretty phenomenal. So I am looking forward to testing that out. Ooh, itchy nose. And then I ordered, I have to look at what it's called again. I absolutely forgot. It's a gel, splash gel flame effect. So what this is supposed to do is, I just closed all the things on my phone that I wasn't supposed to. Excuse me. What it's supposed to do is it's a really thick gel, and you kind of plop it on, and it'll build up on itself, and you can make flames and stuff like that just with the gel itself. So I ordered a couple of different colors, and I am very much looking forward to testing that out as well. So it is coming from Green Stuff World, which I don't believe is a U.S. company or a U.S.-based company. I think they're in Europe, so it may take a little while to get here. But when it does, I will definitely do something on stream where you guys can see how it works and decide for yourself if you want to purchase some. But I have seen how the Liquid Frost works, and it does its job. And a lot of Green Stuff, I started off learning who they were with their putty for filling gaps and stuff like that. So it's not like I don't know the company. They have really good stuff. They make good stuffs.
Miss Leo asked, extra time, what's that? Agreed. I can't answer you, but agreed.
That's the time when I'm cooking dinner and Ty's packing and we're jabbering, or
folding laundry
and we're just talking.
We're working when we're not working.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Sawdust Dragon says, does the world have a place for gunslinging butterflies? That is pretty neat, but I'm afraid not this one.
No.
There's another world that we'll get back to eventually that is called Baroth that we might play with. That kind of thing
would work.
Could be a thing as a playable race in games too.
So,
we fixed the green screen.
Oh yes, Ty fixed the green screen. That was a really big part of our day to day. Not him fixing it. I mean, not the process of fixing it, but the fact that it is fixed was kind of one of those, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I'm tilting a little bit more.
Miss Leo says, Green Stuff World has some pretty cool textures, rolls for scenery pieces. It's pretty cool.
Yes, they do.
And Zoda says, yes, I saw that. I was hoping you'd notice.
Basically, all I'm doing right now is kind of filling in the gaps that I missed where there's still white showing through. So I am starting my fiddling. So basically that's what I'm doing, is I'm fiddling while we're doing this, because it's very rare that I sit and do nothing. I struggle with that quite a bit, actually.
Miss Leo says, I apologize. I'm brain dead from work and did not realize I said pretty cool twice. We thought it was pretty cool, though, so I wouldn't worry about it. Sawdust Dragon says, now you need to wear a green shirt so we can see a floating head.
Floating head.
So then you would visually see how I feel most of the time.
No, I actually struggle quite a bit with... The only time I can sit still and not be doing something is when I'm reading. Because even then, I'm flipping the page. So I'm still doing something. But even like when I sit down and watch TV, I'm, I've got a notebook wherever I go, because I write down ideas for things. But I also will sit and crochet while I'm watching TV, or usually what I do is I sit at the painting table and I watch TV while I'm painting on something.
You want to jabber for a minute and I'll be right back. Okay?
No.
I'll be right back.
No, you can't leave me. So.
Back. You've been warned.
No. I'm actually really happy with how this is turning out. Especially now that I'm getting those white spots filled in. And I realized, which I don't know if you guys can see, but some of this paint, like up here, is kind of crackly, which was not intentional. And there's actually a paint that you can, or a thing that you can add to your paint to make it do that. And I thought about it after I realized that it was doing it. And I'm like, oh, that looks really good. And it kind of fits the theme. And like, I wish I had done that on purpose. And maybe I should get that crackle paint, crackle stuff out and test it out. But I don't want to test it halfway through it. So something I'm going to do soon will have that crackle stuff being used, so I can see how it works. I have more toys here to play with than I've used yet, so I need to fix that for sure. Hi, Golden. We are just really haven't even gotten started yet. I am playing around with my mini while Ty is kind of double checking everything and getting everything situated.
I checked on the puppy.
And checked on the puppy. We wanted to really make sure that we gave people time to jump in before we just, full on was world building. So kind of giving everyone a little bit to start in, or to join in before we completely start. But Dino is jumping around now and running away from me. So I am just continuing to play with this guy, and then we will start world building, according to Tyler, soon.
Well, let's see. So, first of all, I just like it's killing me. I'm looking at this pop filter, and it looks like a fairly comfortable distance away from my face on screen, but I gotta tell you guys, I'm like almost there. It just feels like I'm eating it. Doesn't it look like it's right in my face to you?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, it looks... Oh, well, I hadn't looked at the screen.
Well, on the screen, it
Yeah.
looks comfortable for sure, but it's not.
Look,
I feel
no, even-
claustrophobic.
No, even looking at you from here, it doesn't seem like it's really close. I wasn't reading, so I don't know if we did get a clarification if you sound okay or not, if we're too loud.
Oh
or
yeah,
anything.
let me know if I'm too loud. I'm trying to control myself. I'm not very good at that, but Miss Leo says you totally need to test the crackle paint for us to see. I think it would be really cool if you challenge yourself to use it more for something that isn't fire based. Golden Ghosty says, what's the world building you guys are talking about? Is it for D&D? Not exactly, but I am just about to explain what our current ideas are. I almost did the Nightbot thing again. Sawdust says, from your mic, Ty, I have never heard you too loud.
Perfect.
Well, that's because it's usually just the one mic. This is a new addition to the setup.
As we can, we're slowly adding to our setup, our stream setup, so that we can, be better.
Sawdust says we sound equal-ish, which is good. I tried to get it set that way today. So I worked on the tech stuff today, and I didn't really prepare exactly for this. Hopefully it's all fresh and new on my mind well enough that it doesn't sound too stupid, but do keep in mind that this is we got maybe 7 or 8 pages of notes that we've made so far, something like that, but it's pretty new.
Yes.
First I'll answer, okay, so this is what we call, at least currently, we call this the plane. Is
like
it
not
no, like in the middle of the United States, that kind of plane, right?
Because I have to be a dork, guys.
Yep. So is it for D&D? So we have 2 ideas so far that we're talking about. One of them is as a tabletop game setting. I don't know that it would be the OGL, using the OGL for 5e. It could, if we find a reason to do that, but we don't know about which system. We're not even going to use our own system. I know isn't going to work for this because it's a little more reality based. We have a system called the Burst game system that we're developing a role-playing game for right now. But the thing with that system, that it's all about explosiveness and big events, additional events and stuff like that. And with this being a little bit more reality based, not that there aren't crazy things that happen, but it doesn't really work for our game system. So we would probably use one of the other open systems for this if we get that far. The first idea that we have, and what we're kind of targeting at the moment, is that we are going to write this is a 2-parter, I guess. We're going to write first a book of short stories targeting about 300 pages and 10 to 12 stories.
By we, he means he, because I don't write.
Well, I'm not building the world on my own, though. I am going to write this first one, but then that's part 2 for anybody that would be interested in this sort of thing. If anybody has read the Axler books, Deathlands, there's no such person as Axler. James Axler, I think, is the name. Those books are actually written by different artists that remain anonymous, and they all write under the pseudonym James Axler. We would like to do something like that without the pseudonym part. Everybody's not going to write as Ty Rucker. That's not what's happening. You're going to get your own credit if you write for this, but my goal at the moment is to get to that point. Obviously, we got a lot of work before we can even get there, but establish the world and then bring in other people to write either short stories or novels on this sort of big idea. So before I move on, let's see. The rain only falls in the plain, Creepshow says. All right. Well, so I'm going to do my best. I apologize if I do some skipping around. Creepshow knows me well. I get unfocused or I get excited about an idea and I start spouting off about that and I'm off the trail and running.
I think we've already discussed focus issues today.
Did we?
Yes.
So yes, currently the working title for this world is The Plane. The idea is, sorry, wrong button. The idea is that this is, let me move over to the appropriate file on the other side here. So the idea is that this is a planet called Cathar that was discovered by a scientist named Mira Dalal here on Earth. And she named it after her hometown in India. This planet is huge, and the inhabitants, they don't even really fully have a grasp on how huge it is, even though they've been here for so long. Mira Dalal was long since passed away by the time that people from Earth traveled to Cathar. which is a super massive exoplanet. So big, in fact, that the plane where this story takes place is just a piece of one of the continents on this world. And I'll use the plane itself to give you an idea of how big this world is. In order to get from one end of the plane to the other end of the plane, you would travel for about 20 years.
Years.
It's huge. Their year is just shy of an Earth year. It's about the same. I think I figured out it's 360 days as opposed to 365 days. Well, so the gravity, I'm still working on that. The way I can tell you, generally speaking, how the gravity would work is that while the planet size is part of the gravity problem, it also has to do with the distance away from the core. So I'm still doing some research on that to figure out exactly what the science of that would look like, but in any case, it's a fantasy story. So, but yes, huge planet. So why would you even go across the plane? In the center of the plane is the only place, as far as the inhabitants know, these colonizers know, is a plant can grow here called the Agdal. Now this plant pops out every year just a few berries. And I'm talking like 8 berries or 6 to 8 berries or something like that. And then 2 of those berries for each of those plants is for replanting for making the next harvest, right? Then the remaining berries are shipped off over a course of years and turned into a narcotic. Now this narcotic is, of course, it's got medicinal uses too, but generally speaking, it's just legal in almost every place to use this narcotic. And because of the difficulty to get access to these berries, how few are grown per plant, for how long it takes, you're talking 10 years to get it from the middle of the plane where it grows back to one edge or the other. It's a barren maker, put it that way. So the idea behind this is that farmers, it takes a certain kind of person to do this, because if you go out there to become rich, you can't go out there for 1 year and become rich. So what people do is they go out there with the idea that their grandchildren or their great-grandchildren or their great-great-grandchildren will someday decide to leave the plane and go back to more populated areas. And when they come back, that they can actually use the money they've attained, and they are super wealthy. Like I said, they're barons. They can just affect everything from development of an area to politics. They basically can build their own little kingdoms, or they can just be playboys and playgirls all they want. They can do pretty much anything they want. And for generations, they're that wealthy. But of course, first, before they can be that wealthy, it takes somebody who's they just want to do well for their legacy, and B, they have kind of an adventurous note running through their soul, I guess. So, the difficulties for these folks. The current society would be something like Old West, Victorian era, that kind of time frame. And the reason for that is because, as of yet, I'm not even going to try to name what it is yet, but within the first 25 or 30 years that the relatively small group of colonists were on Kethar, some big calamitous event occurred and took a lot of people, a lot of skilled people, took pretty much all their gear, is the way it went down. So, in essence, drop them back into the Stone Age in a very short time frame, and left them with whatever know-how the remaining people had to kind of start over. So that's kind of why they're not further along than you might think they would be, considering they came in on a spaceship.
Right. Yeah.
So other difficulties. This is a huge planet, and that means there's huge fauna and flora as well. And not all of it's huge. Much of it is, the same size as them, or smaller, but still very dangerous. So they even have a currently unnamed creature that can burrow. Like if you go and hide in your house, so to speak, it can burrow up under your floorboards and get you that way. So what they do is basically their homes are these giant land ships. They're big metal boxes on wheels pulled by these relatively small creatures slowly. But two of these creatures, which are about 4.5 feet tall, I haven't named them yet, but just two of them make up a team that can pull these relatively large 1- and 2-story metal boxes. Creatures are nocturnal. Most of the bad things, to be nice and scary, are going to be nocturnal. Not all of them, but the point is their fortress has to be this big metal box, which of course dictates a lot of things. Like there are some small hills in the plane and stuff like that. Well, they're not going to try to climb a hill with one of those, right? So luckily the plane is, for the most part, flat, and their homes can handle the flat ground, and they have ways of crossing the streams and stuff like that too. What else should I mention here, Dawn?
Well, one of my favorites, my favorite thing is obviously the creatures, because we've come up with some really fun ones already.
Yeah, the creatures are pretty neat. What are some? And so what I want to work on tonight with you guys and with Dawn is the plants, but I will go over some of the creatures first. Yeah, and you may have noticed here I just passed over the there's some jobs.
Yeah.
That are all pretty much all we're really focusing on is the Agdal berries. But it makes for an interesting choice of jobs, I think. All the things that support
that
this
one little
crazy new world. So, okay, so were you about to say something, Dawn?
No, yes, but no. I was just going to say, for me, like I said, I really enjoy the creature. I've actually really enjoyed talking about the jobs that we've come up with as well.
Yeah.
But I think that giving an idea of a couple of the creatures beyond the burrowing might help inspire the fauna sort of choices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the beast of burden that pulls their land ships, their homes, and that burrowing sort of land shark thing that I mentioned before. We haven't even started writing notes on those quite yet, because we kind of know what those are going to do anyway, but we started writing on some of these other ones that we didn't want to forget as we found them in brainstorming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sawdust mentions raiders, rival gangs, militia. Yeah, mercenaries are going to be a big thing. I think people trying to get off of the plane with their fortunes, they will do things like hire an army, essentially, to escort them for 10 years off of the plane. But yeah, there's pirates, mercenaries to help you out. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. You think about it, it's a whole industry that we can just make up things for. So this one's interesting. Let me see if I mention the name of that job. Do you remember what the with the really smart folks. I don't know if I have notes on them.
I don't know if you had a name for them yet or not.
Well, this is an animal that is
Stop it.
used by one of the careers that we're going to write about are these advisors. And these advisors are essentially geniuses who can collect data and information and use that information to predict that we think crops are going to fail here, or this tree source is going to die out because of disease. These animals are going to die off. There's political strife in this area, and we think that whole kingdom's going to fall. All these kinds of things. These guys do that just by using all the knowledge they've gained and meditating for some time period. And after that time period, they just kind of say, okay, I see what's happening in this area. And they come and advise farmers, I think you should move here. And the reason is it's dying off. It's going to be, not very much competition there for you. And you can kind of run the place, or it's based on whatever the farmers are, what their goals are.
All right. I'm going to interrupt for a second.
Sure.
So, hi, Dorky. Yes, we are dual streaming. Golden asks if there's some kind of sentient species on the planet, maybe a species that doesn't live like visitors stealing their stuff.
Yeah, so the continent
me.
that they're on, we have kind of talked about that. And the continent they're on, at least as far as they know, there isn't a sentient race.
Right.
There's a place that's a giant Grand Canyon that's on this continent that may have something like that, or maybe
Either in it,
developing
on the
something
other
like
side
that.
of it, something like that.
And I suspect that if other continents come up, probably that would be an
thing.
incredibly fun element.
Yes.
Um,
And we have some bunch of stuff from Sawdust. I'm going to let you take that.
yeah, so Sawdust says,
Shit.
hello, Gareth.
Hi, Garrett.
Sawdust says some fauna have defense tactics to protect themselves. Since you have a burrowing critter that can apparently dig through many things, the plant could have very hard, sharp roots to protect themselves. And if you plant the in strategic places, you can protect your assets. That's a great point. And when I talk about the plants in a little bit, there's some giant fauna I'll talk about in a moment, for instance, that you would think, oh man, how do you even have a farm with basically giant deer? And it's because they put off a scent or whatever that they protect themselves essentially from critters getting to them by their smell or by it. I mean, it's actually poisonous in a lot of ways. It's used as a narcotic for people, but it has to be processed to do that. I think I may even have notes elsewhere that say a person would probably die if they just ate one of these berries.
Excuse me. And we also talked about a plant that you could train to defend defend you and others.
I think berry cousins. We'll talk about that too soon.
Yeah. Excuse me.
That's a crazy plant.
Yeah. Like I said, this is like, daily jibber jabber, like, hey, how you doing? Cool. I thought about a plant that could, whiplash people. Cool.
Miss Leo says, would you have like a police force or army for at the farming community, as well as to keep the pirates or raiders from stealing the wealth while it's still on the plain, since it seems lucrative enough to chance for 10 years of travel? Okay, that is a big deal. This is like the Old West, but compounded by that distance. Part of the reason the Old West was a dangerous place is because there weren't enough people to tame other people, right? So that is a big deal. In fact, 2 of the short stories that I'm planning to write have to do with that fact that you can get away with a lot. Now, some of the people who maybe already started out with money might handle this that way, for instance, by hiring people to just stay on. But other than that, they've got themselves some farm hands and equipment. They also have animals different guard animals if they had the money before they came out that are expensive, but they can get those animals.
I came up with a really cool guard animal.
Yeah. Sada says, of course, these plants may have some not so fun effects for people. Yes,
Yes.
definitely. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about for animals would be the aeroblink. This is a flying reptile that's like a mix between a pterosaur, a hummingbird, and a chameleon, and a parrot, and quantum entanglement.
Yep.
So that group of people, relatively small group of people that have that job I was talking about, where they kind of use statistics to make predictions decades down the road of things that are going to happen.
Yeah, instead of reading tea leaves, they're reading all of the
Stats.
science parts.
But the world is huge, right? And they can't wait. They can't have a constant stream of people coming to them every day telling them something, and they cannot themselves go on and off the plane. Their information would be too old, useless by the time they wanted to use it. So we have this creature we've already started called an aeroblink. And this guy uses quantum entanglement to jump. To jump ahead. Let me see if I can find how he does this. Okay, so an aeroblink can see clear details up to 15 miles away, and they can blink once every 15 seconds. So they can travel up to 60 miles every minute. And after about 3 hours, they need to take a quick break, but they can travel this way for 14 to 15 hours a day with, sorry, I meant to have this where you guys can see it too. 14 to 15 hours in a day with about 12 hours of actual travel, meaning they can travel 43,200 miles in a day. So essentially what that is going to do is, depending on where they're traveling to, they can do what takes us years and years and years laboriously traveling with our homes on our backs, so to speak. They can do this in weeks or months, something like that. So that the information because these are domesticated, the information that they get from these parroting birds that basically come with them with a vocal message is near instant. It's the most instant data they can get on this planet, honestly.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool creature.
Gareth is asking about magic.
Okay. So not magic per se,
He died.
but in essence, magic. It's one of these situations where
Knock stuff over.
it's one of these situations where some people may start to learn new ways of using science,
Which is looked at like magic for.
which I would say would even make us think magic, but not in the sense of casting spells, more in the sense of manipulating nature.
I mean, I think the reason I wanted to interrupt that was because I think the aeroblink is a really good example of that, where he's blinking himself like a magic thing. He's blinking from one spot to the next that he can see. So it is very much like a spell being cast, but it's just because he understands, or they understand, quantum entanglement, which I can't do. So it looks like magic to me. So it's kind of that high science magic thing.
So Sawdust has a good question. My question is this: what makes the middle of the plane not a good landing point for cargo ships, which makes the 10-year trek necessary? So the idea behind that, although the initial landing is somewhat, for a while, going to be shrouded in mystery, but they just didn't land there. It was a relatively small group, and they landed on what we would call the west coast of this continent, so far away from the plane, not realizing that they were landing in a bad spot, essentially, and they did not even know about this plant yet. It takes some time before they ever even discover this plant and how it can be used, and it's been about 3,000 years since that landing occurred. And a great deal of their time after first getting here was,
Wiped out.
yeah, I mean, just purely survival. The first 25 or 30 years or whatever, they had their gear that they could use and things like that before they lost it. So I'm sure they had, science endeavors and stuff like that. In fact, they may have discovered the plant, but not fully understood its uses yet or something. But yeah, it's essentially just happenstance that they didn't land there. I imagine it would be something along the lines of, we're starting this new civilization, let's make sure we can catch fish. Something like that. And also they may have known from readings that the plane isn't super good for growing most other things. I mean, they have things that they can and do grow in order to survive.
But out in the world, you can grow, 10 ears of corn, and out on the plain, you can grow a half an ear of corn.
Yeah.
It's
not really rich. Like, if you're thinking of a place on Cathar that you're going to be a food farmer, the plain probably isn't where you would think that's where I should go.
Yeah.
Gareth says, sounds like guard animals and plants would definitely be high use. Yeah, we agree. Yeah.
Yeah. We've had many a fun conversation about guard animals already, and there's so much room because this planet is so huge. It allows for such a diversity of animals, to be able to, we're having fun.
Golden Ghosty says, just wait till they discover text messages with regard to the aeroblink.
Damn it! I'm out of a job.
They didn't have enough cell towers up yet. Gareth says, okay, so kind of like Numera, where technology is manipulated in weird ways to get effects. Yeah, I haven't actually played Numera, but yes, I would say it's more science, nature, understanding, and because they started from prehistoric times, maybe they've been taking like a different route than we've taken on Earth history. Okay, now I'm picking up what you're putting down. Gotcha. What about golems or other constructs? Oh, well, I'm not used to this mic being here.
Did you smack it again?
So, I would suggest that these things are going to come a little later, even the science stuff that I'm talking about. These first stories in the short story book, in fact, I don't even think we're gonna... I'm not saying never, but at the moment, I would want it to mainly go over culture and careers, that sort of thing, warring with each other, that sort of stuff. But because we have the games in mind, yeah, and golems and constructs, I mean, yeah, I'm sure we'll do something like that. In fact, maybe if we decide to touch on that, we'll do another stream like this and make sure that we get other people's input for building that stuff. Golden Ghosty says, what's stopping more people with modern tech coming to the planet later so they advance again? That's a good question. They haven't so far. Probably because of how long it takes to get there. But that doesn't mean that they won't. Currently, we're just ignoring that part of the world.
Georgie.
Just to show how these people have developed up to this point.
She likes to dive bomb off of her hammock. So you might hear my bearded dragon back there smacking around. She's normally about this time of night not very active, but the last couple of days she's been perking up. I think she knows spring is coming.
So we have some other creatures. We've got a wasp dragon. That's a kind of pretend creature that it feeds off of actual wasps, or what we would call wasps anyway, by pretending that they are wasps to sneak in close. But they also blow fire. About that big. Reindeer, our giant deer. I kind of hinted about them earlier. There's a cult called the Berry Cult and sects of them each, almost without fail, these sects will have a domesticated reindeer. It's domesticatable, but it's also one of the most dangerous creatures on the plane because of its size. It's a huge creature. From the ground to the top of its antlers can be up to about 8 stories tall. It's a very large creature. Just one more point on that, because I think it's a fun. These cults that worship the berries, they don't actually live in the metal houses. They have little shacks on top of the reindeers, and because they're associated with the reindeer, they're fairly safe from just about everything. So they kind of sleep out under the stars where nobody else does. Field pups. This is another, just a quick note. We've got these wolf-sized, dog-like reptilian creatures that are partially domesticated to protect an area of the field. The fields are very big, because they have thousands and thousands of plants that they plant every year, and they require a huge amount of space.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later, but a huge amount of space to grow in. So these guys are part of how they keep the field safe, mainly from other people, because, as I said before, the plants have natural defenses that will keep animals away from them. So that's the animals we've got notes on so far. Obviously, mostly we wrote on the arrow blink so far, but that's pretty fun. So yeah, the jobs we've talked about. I'm sorry.
We don't have notes on the mimic yet, do we?
No, we do not. There is, yeah, and which is whole. The animals themselves break out into these different industries and stuff too. We'll talk a little bit about that. So this animal is like the mimic octopus, except it's a land-based animal, and it's also relatively rare, so it's very expensive. But because it does, like, you can train it to go with somebody for a little while and come back to you. There's a black market thing going on where it can make itself look like one of these field pups, right? This is a strong breed of field pup, and this is surely what you need to take out on the plane with you. And the farmer spends a whole bunch of money, and then the thing slinks out of its cage and runs back to its owner, that sort of thing. What else was it?
Well, the best part about this to me was, one, it mimics, it's just like a mimic octopus, but it is, it can hatch from its egg basically really, really quickly and become almost full grown adult extremely quickly. So as a well-educated trainer of this animal, you can hatch one, go into a town, figure out what somebody needs, hatch one, and train it to become that animal and act like that animal. Then you can sell that person that animal and then take off out of town. Kind of like a snake oil. So you can train it to look like and act like an arrow blink, and it can fly and it can do the speech and everything else, but it can't fly as fast, and it sure the hell can't blink. It can't figure those things out.
And unlike the arrow blinks, it's not a controlled creature, really.
Yeah.
By the politics of the world, I mean. And it's nowhere near as rare. So
yeah. And I mean, you can train it to look like one of these dogs and act like one of these dogs, and it'll protect you and it'll love you and it'll stay with you if that's what you want, but it's not nearly as strong. So there's an open market for, hey, I need, my little girl lost her puppy. I need a new puppy that looks just like the old one. You can get one fairly quickly from an open market person, but you can also get swindled. So there's kind of double-edged sword there.
Yeah, and maybe somebody's like, this is cheaper than one of the other creatures we've created, which is a big, scary watchdog for the homestead itself. This thing can make itself look like that, but again, it's not really that valuable.
But I mean, really, half the time all you need is that sign on the front of your house saying, I've got cameras.
So you just pay the money for this mimicking creature, and as far as people know, that's what you have if they come
Yeah.
up to the door. So where was I at? Garrett says for the size, this world is basically a Jupiter-sized Earth, from what I'm understanding, and the sizes of the fauna and the distances you're alluding to. I don't. I will have an exact size. I need to finish my gravity research to determine that. It's gonna be big. Uh, the sizes of the fauna and the distances. Yeah, the distances are the main thing, but the size of the fauna and the flora range, from a mouse, a mosquito, whatever, up to these
No mosquitoes in this
huge
world.
creatures.
No mosquitoes in this world. Vetoed.
Well, I
Done.
put them in the story at least, and they've got a purpose. Stupid things. Anyway. Soda says, do you have a nomadic culture that sort of embrace the old way, not just from necessity, but because that is just who they are? They could become a great assistance or great hindrance to the rest of the cultures, depending on whether you are on their good side. I think that's an excellent idea. That's just the two things as far as traveling that I've thought about for sure are, well, one, the cult. They don't stay at one farm. They basically travel from farm to farm and ask permission to camp there for a certain amount of time. And the farmers let them do it as long as, they don't damage anything. They've got a big radar. There's, that's a little bit of
Protection.
help in itself that for the time that they're there, right? But and also because they're a little bit afraid of the cultists. So that's those guys. And then I also thought, to a certain extent, it wouldn't be like one guy who travels around from farm to farm, but if you live on the plain just because you live on the plain and that's what you do, or maybe you're doing the same thing the farmers are, but you didn't have enough startup money, so you're out there just working for farmers. Well, if you happen to be working for a farmer that leaves and you don't want to leave, then there's some travel involved there while you try and find that next place to work at.
Yeah.
They could also have a much deeper knowledge of the plane than most others. That's interesting. Yeah. Maybe their families are, because they're not the big wealthy people who are able to come out and become uber wealthy, and they're just existing out there, that they have some family memories that go back further on more problems than they've seen in their 20 or 30 years there. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think we should develop a nomadic tribe.
Gareth says, but you have to gain their trust to get said knowledge. See, now that's interesting too. I was thinking along the lines of workers and stuff like that, but maybe that's their whole shtick, is they're the wise owl that you go and ask when you have problems about something, right?
Yeah. What's the guru?
Yeah.
They're plain gurus.
Golden Ghosty says, I'm definitely getting some strong Western vibes. Would the technology be around that age, like more simplistic guns, or would the new materials on the planet change the direction of technology advancements? So, that one, I don't think I'd say guns are relatively rare. Not that they don't have them, but maybe the resources are hard to get to. So it's kind of, I'd say, on the edge of that, right? So maybe there's a little bit of that, but there's a lot more people who are able to have a spear or a sword or something along those lines. But definitely the Old West vibe, I think, matches. Just not, they say the six gun made the Old West. Well, I'd say culture makes the Old West in this case, just the culture of distance.
I'm painting fingernails.
Garrett says, love the look of the mini, Dawn.
Thanks. I'm currently painting fingernails.
All right, let me see where we were here. Back to the document. So, Okay. And so what I'm going to talk to you guys about tonight is definitely the Agdal plant. What I can tell you so far, the Agdal plant grows about 2 feet tall. They have to replant it every year, but it grows to about 2 feet tall, and it's as wide as like a 2.5 foot tree trunk. Its consistency, though, its density would be more like the stalk of a sunflower stalk. So it's not a hardy. I mean, it's fairly hardy, but
But you can knock it over with a lawnmower.
yeah, you could beat it up pretty easily if you were so inclined. On the top, it's recessed, and inside of that recess is where the berries actually grow. Let's see if I wrote something else about them here. Thought I had. I think I lost some of the stuff.
I was going to say, I know we had quite a bit of notes on there. Sorry, I'm doing detail work, so I tend to trail off mid-sentence.
Placement advisors, that's what that group of people who are
Yes.
gilded to give targeted advice to farmers. Not just them, other people too. No, I guess I didn't. I think I didn't save and the machine died or something that day the power went out.
Oh, that's what I was just about to say, because you were doing a lot of work on this that day.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Oh well. So the Agdal plants are actually. Oh, let me get this one real quick first. Sawdust says, since there is such a distance when people meet on the plane is so rare that there is an equal feeling of fear of attack and being so cut off that you just want to meet them anyway. I think with few exceptions, I think that because you see other people so rarely, I mean, you have a farm takes, 20 people or so to run. So your family and whoever else works there with you, right? And a couple of times a year, you probably meet with nearby farmers or something like that. And maybe you're by one of the few, there's only a couple of towns on the plain at all, most of which are surrounding the growing area. The growing area is only a small portion of the entire plain. I think just based on the kind of creatures we are, you're going to be pretty excited, and you might have your hand on the hilt of your machete, but you're really hoping you don't have to pull it because new people. The meeting is more about the 10-year trek back. I'm not sure I understand that one.
Yeah, me either.
Makes sense.
Well, not your sentence, Sawdust. I can pick on him like that because that's my brother. And he knows I
Yeah, I'm
love
not
it.
sure exactly what you mean there. Okay, so the Agdal plant. The Agdal plant, I talked about what kind of consistency. It's a fairly fat plant, but it's not super tall, only about 2.5 feet tall. Recessed on the inside of its trunk, if you want to call it that, is where the berries grow, and that helps protect them from wind and stuff. And then, of course, they're letting off a scent or whatever that animals are not into eating them. In fact, naturally, I'd say they probably grow in the husk of the previous year's stalk. Okay, what else? Oh, the distance. So their root system's kind of crazy, kind of tree-like that as well. They need what was it, 24 feet, I think is what I was saying before, to actually grow. So between them and the next plant is 12 feet or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They take up a ton of room. So
And grow very little berries.
Yeah, and grow a few berries. So we'll come back to the Agdal in a minute, so we can actually start developing that bit. But berry cousins, we do have some notes on. Berry cousins, Dawn mentioned earlier. Let's see. Soda says you are less likely to meet somebody in the 10-year trek home. I'd say depending on the places, you're more likely to meet. You're certainly going to meet more people on the trek home or the trek in. Golden Goldstein says, man, I got to say, with how big this planet is, the commute to the store must suck.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Yeah, the farmers are definitely going to have to be self-reliant. They're going to have their own garden with whatever they can grow, maybe some livestock, and it's not about selling that. That's not what they're doing. It's all about subsistence there.
And we did come up with one particular kind of community that will kind of travel in and pick up berries and stuff.
Buyers
That'll kind of travel in and like hopscotch, sort of like, okay, I go from point A to point B, and then you go from point B to point C. So like, while I'm coming here to get this and bringing it back, you're coming and grabbing stock from me and bringing it out. So there's a trail that can get some things in and out that takes a little bit less time because they're not traveling the whole thing. They're just hopscotching each other.
Golden Ghosty says, well, honey, I'm going to the store. I'll see you next year.
My husband went out for a pack of cigarettes and came back 12 years later. Wow, he was fast.
I think a lot of people don't travel in this world.
Yeah.
I think they build their communities, because as sparse as it is, the number of people on the plane itself, because it's not an easy place to live. The forests, the jungles, the seasides, those sorts of things on either side of the plane, there's lots of people. And I mean, they don't fill the continent, certainly. It's too big, but there's certainly big cities and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Where they probably don't travel outside of the city much. But the buyers, yeah, so the buyers I would kind of think of as, they have the same idea as farmers, except think of it as almost a get rich quick. I hate to say that. Rather than thinking I'm going to make my family uber rich
In 12 generations, we're going to...
Yeah, in a couple of generations. Instead, I'm going to make this one trip, 20 years. I'm going to go out to the plane, and I'm going to come back, and whatever, I buy over that time period, they'll still be pretty wealthy, and they'll be set for life.
Yeah. We've also discussed the sort of wine idea of this berry. So not necessarily making wine with it, but it ages like wine. So the longer you've had whatever you've made from this berry, the better it gets. So if you've got, just use wine right now as an example. So if you've got wine from when your great-great-grandfather first planted his very first berry, you have the juice from that berry. All you need to do is make it out with that son of a bitch, because you're set.
Miss Leo says, so you made a plant with the properties of poppies, with the scarcity of saffron, and then maxed the space by 1,000%. Yeah.
Yes.
That sounds right.
You would, wouldn't you?
So anyway, berry cousins.
Yes.
Berry cousins are really neat. We kind of alluded to this earlier. Somebody mentioned like guard animals and guard plants. This is a guard plant. It's actually, they call them berry cousins because they're related to the Agdal plants. The berry cousins main stalk looks very much like the Agdal stalk, but it is more dense and harder, with a dozen or so vines up to 20 feet long stretching out from the stalk. Each vine has hundreds of thorns the size of a shark's tooth growing from it. The first time this plant flowers, a training scent is left with the plant for the entire time it flowers. The plant associates this scent with like family, right? So the staff and the farmers, they use that scent on themselves, so basically that scent tells those plants, I'm friend. You don't have to attack. because these plants actually whip with those vines. They whip out against anything that's coming too close. So if people, for instance, would try to attempt without the scent having passed with the scent, the plants lash out with their deadly thorn-covered vines. These are planted around the fields like a living fence. And as I mentioned to Dawn, I think what we'd also do with this plant is that first generation, you go around your field with these plants, but then maybe that next generation expands the farm out because you don't own the land. You're kind of just claiming it for as long as you're there, and then you hold it and protect it. You expand the field out. Well, those first berry cousins are still in there, right? So now, as your fields grow further and further out, if you're trying to, even if you figure out how to get through that first line of defense, considering that the berry cousins look very much like the Agdal plants, you don't know if you're walking up to an Agdal plant or a berry cousin once you get into the field. So that's going to add some danger from anybody that might want to steal a berry or two for themselves. Soda says, what is the name of the teleporting critter? Would that critter be able to carry the berries back in just a couple of months? No, it's not that big. It's called an aeroblink.
Think hummingbird carrying a grapefruit.
It's not a hummingbird, though.
Well, I know.
It's much larger than that. But
I'm just saying for size comparison.
They're not like really like toting birds. They're really just little sleek things. Adults are 23 to 27 inches long from the tip of its long slender beak to the tip of its long forked tail, with a wingspan of about 37 to 45 inches. So they wouldn't be able to carry very much. It would probably slow them down. And yeah, it's not really what they're built for.
I would also think that they understand how to jump their own physical being. I don't think they would be able to carry something and jump with it.
That's a good point. I hadn't even really thought about that. Yeah, I think that definitely would have to be a limitation. There's other limitations too, like, that I'm sure we have flying craft, stuff like that by now, balloons or whatever. But there are things in the sky that never land.
I'm sorry, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds just went through. So I'm like, I almost started singing.
There are things in the sky that never land, and it's their domain. You know what
Yeah.
I think you can get what I'm trying to say there. So that's not like people can speed up their travel or anything like that with flight for the most part. Not until some technological advancements are made, at least.
Yeah.
Golden Ghosties. Oh, yeah. Golden Ghosty says, I really think this planet needs some pea shooters from Plants versus Zombies. Perfect defense. That's not a bad idea.
You got to put it in there.
All right, I'm going to write some notes on that just a second. We are, that's what we're working on tonight. We're working on plants.
Yeah.
So,
All right. I'm going to do the eyeballs black, I think.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Maybe we should do that. Instead of messing around with just the Agdal, which I have a pretty good idea of what we're going to do with that guy anyway. He's important to the story. Why don't we talk about
New ones. So
new
that's what I think
plants
we
that
should do.
can develop, right?
Shite. Eyeballs, Gareth. Eyeballs. Not nice. Yes, I think we should come up with new ones.
So let me find. Leo says Dawn beat me to saying the only their physical body can jump. Yeah, you gotta have limitations. If you don't, then you get a Money Hall campaign.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like the same thing of, we're like, well, we want people to take this long to travel. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. So how do we make them have to travel slowly? Well, put giant fuckers in the sky that makes nobody want to go up there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Gareth says, I know. with regards to the sound.
I mean,
So Miss Leo says you could even just make it your lore if you don't want them to carry the berries to state that they can only jump their bodies. Hence, also why it's a voice message, not them carrying a small scroll like a carrier pigeon. Yeah, we've actually developed it more than that. So these animals are pretty expensive because of the features that make them the way that they are too. They can only travel so that they can be trained by a specific pair of these crystals that give off a frequency. So what you do is you train that bird to go to, well, not a C. I mean, they can go to multiple frequencies, but that's how they get A to B. Is you have this stone, and you're like, here, bird, go to this frequency, and that's how it knows to fly where it's going to fly to give its message. And its message is password based. So you've given some command, and then the person on the other end has to know that command in order to repeat your voice back to them. So it's like a secretive thing too, which makes sense. You wouldn't necessarily want competitors to know things, or competing kingdoms or whatever, but
or even the people who didn't pay for the shit.
yeah. So that's how they know to go to A and B. That's how they know how to do their messages. And also there's a specific kingdom which controls Far Eagle Valley. It's the Kern clan, and that is their industry. There's ways you can buy an arrow blink from a breeder. But obviously, like you have lineages of racing horses, for instance, right? And you want to buy one based on lineage. A lot of people will spend extra money by going directly to the Kern family, the Kern clan, and buying from them because they're considered the best. That's where the best comes from.
Well, and not only that, that particular one is not, he's not, or they don't breed in captivity. They actually go out and gather, they let them breed naturally, and they go out and they collect the eggs. So,
wars have been fought over this creature.
Yeah.
Because people try and, just like any other medieval story you can think of, people will try and take that area by force, and the Kern family has been able to hold on to it for a long time, 800 years or something like that. But certainly they're ready to fight over that. That's their income, and they're not willing to give that up. So a lot of political strife over this animal.
Yeah.
But again, a whole nother career that comes out of the animal, just the animal.
Yeah.
You could have a job where that's all you do is you watch the nests, and then once a year you collect the eggs or something like that. So, plants. We have a pea shooter that is a plant that is going to shoot projectiles out, or maybe a group of them. That would be kind of interesting too, like a breed that comes from a certain jungle or forest or something like that is like another good defensive plant or something. Instead of flowers around your house, you have these guys.
You look.
Oh, that's not loud enough.
I was trying to get Ty, and he looked at the screen and he saw it.
I can't believe I didn't notice before that was quiet after the ducks. They still made you jump.
You could make it spit thorns like the exploding tree in South America, sorry. Good Lord. Sawdust must have both of his hands back because he is typing up a storm.
Spitting thorns. Ooh, let's make that a sub of this one.
Yeah, I definitely
Spit
think.
projectiles.
I'm pointing like you can see that, but
That can be pods, or it can be thorns. I like that. Man, like a ninja plant.
Oh,
Tossing out thorns like friggin'
so
throwing stars.
like the thorns could be, projectiles and sharp and stabby, right? The pods could actually be gas filled and they explode like a grenade and like noxious gas comes out of them. And then we also do need to read the paragraph that's
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to get to it in just a moment. Pods can be a gas releasing grenade. I dig it. Okay, so Sawdust says, if you have floating creatures that never land, then maybe you have a plant that sends its seeds in the form of a lighter than air pod that is full of methane. At certain times of year, you have a cluster of floating methane filled seed pods. Wow, that's kind of almost what you were just saying. Except they're being tossed like grenades.
Yeah.
Filled seed pods that can be, oh, I lost my spot filter, that can be harvested for the methane if you are lucky enough that they land close to you, but it also brings down the big aerial predators from the sky. Wow, that is cool. Possibly some kind of fungus plant that can reproduce large amounts of spores, and it shoots these spores at things to spread, but people use it as a defense. That's from Golden Ghosty. That is cool too. I'm gonna get both of these ideas.
So, kind of building on what Sawdust was just saying, so they can actually bring down these big giant flying ones, and actually bring them down and they die. So that could be a plan of, okay, it's that time of year, guys. Let's start harvesting meat.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that could sustain them out on the plains.
And the plants might do that to fertilize themselves. They eat that.
Yeah.
And pods filled with methane. Pods explode and bring down large
I made phone go away.
flying creatures. What?
I was trying to read because I'm still struggling with reading over there. I have to put my face like this so I can read that far away. Sometimes my phone's a little easier, but it's not. So I was trying to read and I couldn't. You type, be quiet, emo.
So people harvest the creatures and the pods as they can at this time of the year. All right. And then the other one was fungus plant that reproduces a large amounts of spores, and it shoots these spores at things to spread. I like that. People use them as a defense, so it's harmful to creatures. Fungus spore shooter. We'll get better names later.
Yes. As I say, that definitely, that name has to be improved upon.
What? Reading it one more time. So it produces creatures, and you guys can't even read. I kept telling myself earlier, I need to remember to move it up so that you guys can see what we're doing, right? Hey, you didn't see all the mistakes that have happened up to thus far, at least. Shoots them at creatures to spread. This can be harmful. And so people may use this as a defensive plant. Okay. Miss Leo says, or could the pods produce a neurotoxin or a neurochemical that the thorns are ejected from? Oh, get back up to there.
I keep dropping them tonight.
Thorns. Look at that. Thorns could produce a neurotoxin.
Do keep in mind, folks, that we do have to survive some of these plants.
Well, one second. Produce a neurotoxin.
Not all of them, just some.
I would say this could. This could also be something that benefits people like assassins.
Yeah. They'd want to gather it and
Yeah, so they might gather it whenever they can, go out to farmers' fields and intentionally get attacked so that they can use a board or something to capture
the spines and
well, this is the pea shooter one,
the
right?
pea shooter one. Yeah.
That capture these thorns that come off of them so that they can get the toxins out of it.
Have a net that they use to harvest from.
Mm-hmm. Soda says, Dread, I said methane, which is not lighter than air. It could have been filled with hydrogen. Let's see. Where did that? Oh. Or a lighter gas. do. Oh, well, like. All right, Golden Ghosty says, since many fungus reproduce by decomposing things, this fungus has evolved to kill things by shooting its spores, so then it can reproduce. But since it's so lethal, it seems perfect. Yeah. Soda says, Golden, this fungus would be a good source to tip your arrows with. They are dangerous, but tasty. What's wrong with domesticating plants? Nothing. Nothing at all. I think that was in reference to you saying we got to live through some of these. Well, that's why with like the berry cousin that we built in, the plant recognizes the scent of people during that flowering. A certain group of people who are able to somehow ingest it or something. I haven't developed that part yet, but something to do with their flowering season that allows you to become family, become friends.
Yeah, basically think, kind of like when a duck is hatching, the very first thing it sees, that's its mommy. Except in a plant form. So when it flowers first. It's time to pink tea for teefers.
Sorry, I'm doing it again. There we go.
You're so bad at it.
Save before the power goes out.
Yes. That sucked.
We
still don't even know why we lost power.
Yeah, I don't know. They seemed a little confused when we saw them, but they got it working not long after that.
Yeah.
Golden Ghosty says, possibly because of its ability to reproduce and its use in arrows, it could even become a major crop for people. That's a good point, too, that maybe there's these people who have devised, hey, I better make these notes.
Yep. I'm always yelling at him about that. Like, that's really cool. Before we move on, write it down. I cannot tell you how many great ideas we just don't even know we had.
So maybe people have devised safe ways of getting themselves out or using tools somehow that will protect them from being killed by the plant, and they can still collect it. Maybe it's a stage in its life cycle where
it's like, I don't give a fuck.
You could box up just the right portion of it or something like that, and you're never in contact with the deadly toxins that way. And even a food source, Ghostly says.
So, you know how like blowfish is deadly if you don't cut it right?
Hey.
So, like that sort of thing, you have to be trained how to prepare this. But if you know how to do it, you can do it.
And, people are going to pay a lot for it because
Not everybody.
it's
Yeah.
hard to do and it's dangerous.
And also, some people will do it just for the thrill of it because people are weird.
Soda Dragon says, in a plain environment, tubers would grow well. There can be some various types of tubers that can be grown for personal food use. And of course, they can grow wild in random places, especially if they were already there, right?
Right.
So if they found food like the Agdal, they discovered it grew on this plain wildly before they were ever there. So maybe that's the same sort of thing, that because the ground doesn't grow well, you're going to grow what grows well in that ground, right?
Yeah. So many freaking teeth. This is not one row of teeth.
Hey, good stuff. Yeah. See, this is already pretty rich. I'm surprised nobody asked me, but I'll go ahead and mention it anyway. So crowd forging, and why I keep saying not crowdfunding, because a lot of people haven't used crowd forging yet. It's something that I like. I mean, lots of people have used give me your ideas, of course, but eventually we want to build a system where this sort of thing is much more rich, where you can go and fill in your own sorts of things.
Oh, sorry.
For an idea that we're working on, rather than just me taking notes based on chat or something, So so that everybody can kind of take part in the creative process, upvoting and downvoting and stuff like that. If anybody played the old, it's old now at least. In fact, it's closed down, I believe. The Pathfinder online game. It had some limited tools that it did crowd forging with, where people could add votes and upvote, add items and upvote and downvote things, kind of like you do on Reddit, that sort of stuff. Let's see. So I kind of imagine, if you think about the plain of the United States, the plains here in the middle of the country, on the prairie lands and stuff, you'll get these copses, not necessarily giant forests, but sparse copses from place to place in some areas. And I'd like to take on that megafauna thing there too, that you find a copse, and it's a copse on the plain, but maybe it'd be closer or nearly a forest here on Earth even. But that also the trees would be predominantly this, almost like a redwood, like huge trees.
I haven't looked up in chat in forever. Sorry.
Yarp.
Yarp. Narp. Sorry, I had to. Oh, I have to dig for a yellow.
Oh, what am I doing wrong there?
I have no idea, my love.
I'm not talking to you.
Yes, you were.
Oh, I'll show you guys. Maybe you know what I'm doing wrong.
See, Sawdust says, back to my idea of knowing how to cut and cook it. There is a real plant called pokeweed. It is technically poisonous, but if you boil it 3 times, you can eat it. Golden Ghost, he says, I know it's not really related to plants, but is cattle a large source of income or livelihood for the farmers?
For the farmers on the plain, I would say no.
I would say, if anything, the cattle would be food.
So This is how you spell cops. I don't know why it doesn't like that spelling. But in any case, that's how you spell cops. I had to go and look it up elsewhere. I'm like, I'm losing my mind. That's not how you spell cops. So cattle, I would say, are going to be difficult because that's the same reason that they live in a land ship. It's harder for them to keep that sort of thing safe. Some of the creatures, while they won't mess around with the plants, are willing to go into the fields. So even then, you couldn't keep something that might be a food source to them even in the field. So you'd have to find some other interior to put it in, I think, which is a problem. You already keep the beast of burden. You keep 2 of them all the time. And you keep those inside of the house with you. They've got their own little section of the house. I should put drawings out sometime if we do this a couple more times. What the house looks like. It's a big metal box, but...
Tile draw it for you. He's just gonna pout for a minute and then he'll move on.
Ty's drawing. Let's see. So, a real plant called Milkweed. I listened a little bit of that. I'm sorry. I'm catching up a little bit too. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, wow. Golden Ghosty says, I know it's not really related to plants, but as cattle, that's what we were just talking about.
Yep.
Soda says, in Louisiana, you can have about 1 cow per acre and not have to feed them with additional food. On the plain, I imagine that it would be more like a cow per 10 acres.
It might be just something that bad, you know.
Yeah, I foresee some of the extreme animals that we're going to throw at folks, that trying to keep livestock is going to be hard for them.
Well, I mean, that's also saying that we managed to, when we traveled here in the first place, managed to bring cows with us. And maybe that's not a thing. Maybe we couldn't get them to survive, or they didn't survive the thing that went horribly wrong.
Yeah, so the calamity, we don't know what happened. I mean, if they lost their ships, their mobility, the other vehicles that they brought with them, they lost all of that. The homes that they had built were destroyed. A lot went wrong, and I would suggest that enough went wrong for them to lose all of those things, that cattle were probably part of what, if they had them on the ship with them or something, that's probably part of what they lost, I would guess.
Because, I mean, not only did we lose the physical things, we lost a bunch of the knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they can't just build another spaceship. I would say that they didn't even have someone, they didn't have a group of people to help them build another ship. They had people that could maintain a ship. But I'd say there was a lot missing in the first place, as far as starting over goes. And lost with regards to people who could maybe do some of that stuff. What, Dawn?
Well, I just thought of something of, like, it goes back to the conversation earlier of, if we were technologically advanced to come out here in the first place, wouldn't more people come and all that kind of stuff? Well, I mean, I don't know if you're wanting to figure out the calamity, but maybe it was a planet shift. So the whole planet shifted, and it's no longer where it was in the first place.
Maybe it's not in the same dimension or something. Huh?
Yeah, so it's not like we can't get back there. There's been no communication. So as far as Earth is concerned, the planet might have, lost everything in the first place.
Maybe
the Daleks pulled it out of space and time.
Well, I think it's kind of a neat idea that maybe we do have visitors show up later.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Maybe.
It's just out of shift, or it's just a little bit off, so it's not exactly where it was. So it can be found again. It just bounced. It's 1 second out of sync.
Oh, wrong window.
just like the lost moon of Pooch. Sorry. I will go off on a tangent now. I will stop.
Okay, so golden ghosties says, or perhaps there's some kind of species that can be used as cattle on the planet, perhaps a large armored animal. Oh, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That would make it hard for the land shark to eat. I'm going to note it. I don't know if I want to give them that or not. I know that sounds terrible, but at the same time, we have to keep these limitations. Otherwise, why wouldn't everybody just move out to the plain, right? It's got to be really difficult to survive out here, is why I've tried to stay away from that sort of thing. But then again, that doesn't mean that those animals don't exist
Right. They
elsewhere.
just maybe don't handle the plane well.
Right.
Maybe they do exist. They just don't recommend taking it out there.
Add that to the bottom of the animals. Do.
No do.
Do.
No. Yeah, that brush is working better. I'm doing details now. I'm like adding in yellow highlights. I don't know if you can understand that. I'm adding in yellow highlights. Talking with my, brush in my mouth is not really helpful. Kind of the same thing I did last night when I was getting really close on to being done with the base, of just taking the really bright spots. It's that really, really
show everybody a better picture of that while you're talking about it.
Hot area for the fish. I saw it. I still jumped, but I saw it come across the screen.
I did not see it coming. I was too busy looking at something else. Let's see. All right.
Oh, Ty, we need to do a time check.
It is 7:52. We need to hurry up and do the drawing.
We do, yeah.
Travels in packs so that it can bend from predators.
And this is why we don't do dual streams, because neither one of us is paying attention at time.
All right, let me get Nightbot set up real quick.
I know the word.
Oh, what is it?
Pea shooter.
Supposed to be a word.
Okay, pea.
P. Okay, that's easy for everybody. Oh, the drawing word is, don't you love that? P. P in chat now for your chance to win. Okay, before I get back to chat, everybody that's watching right now, maybe you're listening to the show in the background, go ahead and first of all make sure that you're following. You have to follow in order to be eligible to win. And then enter the word P. It doesn't matter if you use all caps, no caps, one cap. It doesn't matter. It's case insensitive. And you will be entered to win your choice of one of the many mystery mini boxes that we have setting aside. I think we have like 6 or 7 of them left or something like that. You'll get to choose a number, and we will, in a matter of days send it to you.
Yeah, because we are currently under snow and ice at the moment again.
Yeah, it's snowing right now. So yeah, make sure you're following, and then go ahead and enter the word P, that's P-E-A, into the chat. All right, so I will try and catch up here while we're waiting for people to enter the drawing, because I think I missed some stuff. Soda says golden, absolutely. There should be some sort of plains herd beast, or you would not have any predators. That's a good point too. Yeah, that's a really good point. That doesn't mean I want people to eat those though. It
Yeah, well, I mean,
I can't. I mean, I keep going over that. It can't be too easy, right? It's got to be something like a really hardy group of people are endeavoring to do this.
but I mean, if you think about it, take something like a goat. One goat slaughtered is not going to feed 20 to 30 people who work on a farm for more than a day.
Yeah.
So
it is still, yeah.
you can justify the herd animal to attract the predators, but also shrink them down so that they won't be, like a cow size would be maybe a little bit too much to make things a little bit too easy, sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. You guys are making good points. Damn it. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, where did I just... The chat moved on me.
Ow. I pulled my hair.
Oh, Golden Ghosty says, that's what I was thinking, Sawdust Dragon. There's got to be some kind of prey if there's predators. Golden says, not looking as much of a hot mess, Dawn.
No. Still looks hot.
Sawdust says it would be the burrowing critter that would come up from underneath and eat the armored plains herd beast. Maybe. I mean, they're not the only creature that's out there. I mean, not maybe. They definitely would. But I think there's probably some other things that you have to watch out for. Golden Ghosty says, I hear Gareth is the luckiest around here and wins a lot. Well, I plan to dethrone him. And that's a good segue to remind everybody. In the next couple of minutes, we will be doing the mystery mini box giveaway where you get to pick one of the remaining numbers and that box will be sent to your home by us at no charge to you. So all you have to do is be following our Twitch channel. Sorry if you're watching on YouTube, you're gonna have to go over to Twitch to follow for this one. You got a couple minutes to do that, by the way, and then we're going to randomly draw from one of the people who enter PEAP into chat in a couple of minutes, and just a couple of minutes because we're about to hit a hard stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ooh.
Sawdust, thank you for the 102 bits, and are those corgis too?
Those are corgis. I love the corgis.
One of them was a heavy-headed corgi. There's a creature for you, the heavy-headed corgi. Beware after dark, the heavy-headed corgi.
No more movie voice.
So Golden Ghosty says, well, if it's an armored beast, that would make sense. Maybe only people with guns can actually kill them. And since guns are far and few between, it makes sense. They are too strong for spears and swords. I think that makes sense for sure.
That's a really good way of
They're already looking like a... the hell I just lost... Rhinoceros type thing, maybe. Maybe not that mean, but tough enough to handle itself,
Yeah.
Garrett says, well, maybe the ranchers can capture some of the predator animals and eat them as well. Also not a bad point.
Sorry, timers.
Maybe that's a fun thing for I'm going to make a note of that too. Maybe that's a fun note for... I bet the cultists would love, like, once a year they find like some really mean... I'm not going to make that as an animal note. I'm going to make that as a cultist note. I think I have notes on the cultists here. Somewhere. Here we go. Cult of the Berry. So once a year, let me put this where everybody can see. Forgot which screen we were on. I'm sure that broke everybody's heart. Anyway, so once a year they have a ritual killing and eating large, deadly predator. That makes a lot of sense. That they're gonna do kind of crazy stuff like that because they're nuts. They're not peaceful.
They are not right in the head.
They pretend and project peace as if they're super peaceful people right up into the moment that they're not getting what they want or something like that, and then they make it clear that they're going to get what they want. So because at the core, if I remember right, the way I put it is that at the core of this group, they actually look at the planet as a god, and it's all about power for them. All right, we are after 8 o'clock.
So we need to do our drawing.
We definitely need to do our drawing. I'm going to leave
And
chat
run away.
open so I can make more notes later. All right, so everybody, you've got a couple of seconds. Please enter PEA and be following us on Twitch. We are just about to roll it as soon as Dawn says roll it.
Go for it.
That's not what I said. I said
Roll it. I'm doing tea first.
hole it.
Shut up, asshole.
Oh, roll it.
Oh, God damn it. That was Gareth. What? Oh, sauce. How dare you? I just assumed it was Gareth. Oh, sorry, Gareth.
Okay, what did you say?
Go.
Oh, then the winner is Miss Leo.
Yay, Miss Leo.
Right. Let me. I'm gonna switch over to the intro screen so that you can.
That's it.
2, 4, 6, 10, and 14. Please choose one of those numbers.
handwriting's
Congratulations, Miss Leo.
My hand is horrible. Oh, my God.
Groovy. Yep, you won, Miss Leo. That's right. 14. Congratulations. So tomorrow, if we can.
Yes, if mail's running tomorrow, it'll go out tomorrow, basically.
Yeah. And our snow is supposed to go into Thursday. So if we can't do it tomorrow or Thursday, then Friday or Saturday it should go out. Number 14. All right. So I'm going to have to leave chat open, Dawn, because I think people wrote other stuff that I haven't quite caught up on yet.
Okay.
So we got notes on all of these things. If you guys are interested in this sort of thing, then I'm definitely going to keep you in a loop. And maybe we can have some more of these world building parties and see where this goes. Like I said, the first thing we'll probably do is we'll write a book of short stories and get it to you guys somehow. And then after that, I'd say before we're done with the short stories, we'll have it figured out which gaming system we're going to apply this to and start developing that as well. Something fairly thin, I think. Something easy to use.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, you want me to put that back on the main, babe? Let me.
Golden says, I would love more streams like this. It was a ton of fun to dabble with. It is a lot of fun. And honestly, it's one of those things for me, it kind of takes away some of the pressure to remember to keep talking. So I can just sit here and paint.
Well, all of the game room bling stuff that we develop and 3D printing and all that stuff is fun. But this reminds me that we're a game company and publisher.
Yeah. So, yes, he is all finished. He needs a clear coat, and I'm probably going to go with a matte, and then put a little bit of the gloss in, like the eyes and the mouth always, but then some of the crevices where he's, on fire, I will add a little bit of gloss. But in general, he'll be all matte. But he is done.
Yay.
Yay. And we're out of here for tonight, folks.
All right.
Did you just hit your mic?
I'm like wrenching my pop filter all over the place. So that's why it's happening if I start popping.
Thanks, Miss Leo. Thanks, Sawdust. Yeah, Gareth, this was a lot of fun to do like this. Honestly, it's fun. I mean, this is typical conversations around our house, to
Well,
be honest.
And if people are liking this, then maybe we'll put some context in place. We'll open up a Discord channel and then we can get started faster. I noticed it took me like an hour to explain everything.
Well, and that's what Sawdust was asking is there a place on the Discords? So I think on the Discords.
So we'll put some stuff on the Discords.
On the Discords.
And we have cryptmonkey.net, which we're not using that much right now, but that's the kind of place where I'd like to do crowd forging and stuff. So I'll see in the next couple of weeks if I can get some time to work on our cryptmonkey.net website to add a place for this so we can talk about it and share context and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But yeah, we better hop off here. Huh?
Yes, we should go. I'm still adjusting to where I can read things with my glasses. Sorry guys. That's why you see me like tilting my head and doing all kind of crazy things. I mean, I do crazy things anyway, but now I'm being like really weird now. So, see you on Tuesday for sure, potentially on Sunday. I may be trying to get together my punishment paint for losing the paint off between me, Jake, and Ty. Jake has picked the miniature. I need to get it printed out, and then Ty is going to pick the only paints I can use. So whatever he picks is everything I have to use and the only things I can use.
2 primary colors.
Teal is one of them.
It's not a real color.
Night, guys.
See you guys. Oh, also possibly Gamers in the Unknown. That's in the air at the moment. There's still lots of things going on, but we really do want to get back to it as soon as we can. But
And Gareth will be streaming tonight. Gareth, quickly throw your little link in there real quick.
Is that tonight?
That is tonight.
Oh yeah, I'm so used to this being on Tuesday. This is Wednesday.
So I know it's such a it's a weird night for us. So yes, hopefully Gareth, we will be on later. Because I'm hoping to not crash, but I can feel myself. I gotta go switch my that was the timer that went off in the middle of the stream.
I'll hop on there.
My printers are finished, so I gotta get those switched over too.